In the spring of 1587, the warlord, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the most powerful man in Japan, sat down for tea with Sen no Rikyu. Hideyoshi had conquered most of Japan. He controlled armies, territory, and wealth on a scale no one had seen in a generation. But in the tea room, none of that mattered. The room was small. The bowl was simple. The silence was complete. And for the duration of the ceremony, the two men were simply present. With each other, with the tea, with the particular quality of that afternoon. Afterward, Rikyu said something that Hideyoshi never forgot. He said, "This moment will not come again." Not a lament, not a warning, a fact. And in that fact, an invitation to actually be in the moment, rather than passing through it on the way to the next one. That idea has a name in Japanese: Ichi-go, ichi-e. One time, one meeting. It is 4 syllables. And I think it might contain the most important thing anyone has ever said about how to live. Let me start with a question. When did you last have a conversation, a real conversation, with someone you care about, and find yourself fully in it? Not running a background process of what you need to do next, or how you want to be perceived, or what the other person is probably thinking, or whether you already said this. Just actually there, with that person, in that exchange. If the answer is difficult to recall, you are not unusual. The average person, research suggests, is present in approximately half of their waking moments. The other half, their mind is elsewhere in the past. Rehearsing, worrying, planning, evaluating. There is a word for this mind wandering. It is the default state of the human brain, and study after study finds that it is one of the most reliable predictors of unhappiness. We know this, and still we wander. Ichi-go, ichi-e is not a solution in the conventional sense, not a technique or a practice. It is a way of seeing, and the thing it helps you see is this: you are treating this moment as though it is replaceable, as though there will be another one like it, as though the conversation happening right now with this person, at this point, in both of your lives can be returned to, can be had again, more fully, later, when you are more ready. It cannot. The phrase Ichi-go, ichi-e comes from the world of tea ceremony, and its origins are traced to Sen no Rikyu, the 16th century tea master who shaped the form that still exists today. Rikyu built the tea ceremony around a radical idea, that the gathering of people around tea was a unique event that would never be repeated, not because something dramatic would prevent it, but because time moves in one direction. The people in the room would change, the season would turn, the quality of the light would shift. The conversation that had happened between these people in all the years before this moment, and all the silences, had produced a specific configuration of connection and feeling, and shared history that existed only now, in this room, and would exist nowhere else. The tea ceremony was designed to honor that. Everything about it, the single flower in the alcove, the rough ceramic bowl, the deliberate pace of each movement was designed to slow the guests down, long enough to actually notice where they were, to make the ordinariness of tea into an occasion for full attention. This is what Rikyu meant by Ichi-go, ichi-e. Not that this was a special moment, that all moments are this moment, that what you are experiencing right now has the same quality of unrepeatable singularity as the most formally marked occasions in your life. You simply have not been trained to notice. There is a way that we deceive ourselves about time, and I want to name it directly because I think it is responsible for most of the half-presence that characterizes modern life. We treat most of our experiences as instances of a category, rather than events in themselves. This dinner is dinner. This conversation is the kind of conversation we have. This evening at home is Tuesday evening, which looks more or less like every other Tuesday evening. We see the type, not the thing. And once we have categorized an experience, we stop really paying attention to it because we have already, in some sense, filed it away. The problem is that the category is an abstraction and the experience is real. Tuesday evening is not a category. This Tuesday evening, with whatever is actually happening in this house, with these people, at this point in this year, is a specific event. It will not happen again. The same people will be older next week. The same house will be in a different season. The same conversations will have moved on. This particular configuration of your life will not recur. Ichi-go, ichi-e is the insistence on seeing the event rather than the category, on treating this dinner as this dinner, not as dinner in general, on meeting this person as they actually are right now, not as the version of them you have assembled from past experience. This is harder than it sounds. Our brains are prediction machines. They are built to find patterns, file things into categories, and then process those categories efficiently, rather than re-examining each experience from scratch. This is useful. It is also, applied to human life, a source of enormous loss. Here is where Ichi-go, ichi-e connects to something most people understand intellectually, but rarely feel the finitude of the people you love. Everyone knows, in the abstract, that the people in their lives will not always be there. This knowledge sits at the back of most minds, acknowledged but not really felt. We keep it there because feeling it would be uncomfortable. But the discomfort is precisely the point. The Japanese practice of hanami, gathering to watch the cherry blossoms, is built around exactly this kind of discomfort. The blossoms are celebrated not despite their brevity, but because of it. The fact that they are here for 2 weeks and then gone is not a tragedy to be suppressed. It is the thing that makes people show up and actually look at them. The awareness of ending is what restores attention. Ichi-go, ichi-e applies this same logic to the people in your life. Your parents are at a specific point in their lives, and then they will be at a different point, and then they will not be here. The version of your child that exists today will not exist in a year. The version of your friendship that currently exists has been shaped by everything that has happened between you, and it will be shaped differently by everything that happens next. And this particular shape, this moment in the long relationship between two people, is happening now and will not happen again. This is not a morbid thought. It is the thought that, when actually felt rather than merely acknowledged, has the power to completely change the quality of your attention. There is a distinction I want to draw, because I think it is important. There is a difference between being present and performing presence. Performing presence is what happens when you put down your phone and make deliberate eye contact, and remind yourself to be in the moment. It has the form of presence without the substance. You are still managing the experience from outside it. You are watching yourself be present, which is another way of not quite being there. Real presence, the kind that Ichi-go, ichi-e points toward, is not a performance. It happens when the evaluation drops, when you stop monitoring whether you are doing this correctly, when the moment becomes interesting enough that the self-watching falls away. Rikyu understood this. The tea ceremony was designed to produce exactly this effect, through simplicity, through beauty, through the quiet authority of a room, stripped of everything unnecessary. When there is only the bowl and the tea and the person across from you, the mind has less to evaluate. And in that space, something closer to actual attention becomes possible. This is why the tea room was small, not for aesthetics, to remove distraction, to reduce the surface area of things to evaluate, so that what remained could actually be seen. You do not need a tea room to access this, but you may need to do what Rikyu did in designing it, to deliberately reduce the noise, until what is actually present becomes visible. Ichi-go, ichi-e is not an instruction to be more present. That instruction, delivered to a busy, modern mind, tends to produce guilt rather than change. It is instead an invitation to notice something. This conversation will not happen again. This meal, this morning, this version of your life with these people in this season. The moment you are in right, now is the only time this particular arrangement of things will exist. That is not a tragedy. It is the most fundamental fact about being alive. And it is, once felt, rather than merely known, one of the most quietly transformative facts available. Sen no Rikyu said this moment will not come again. He did not say it with sadness. He said it with the attention of someone who understood exactly what that meant, and who had decided, long ago, to actually be in the moments of his life, rather than passing through them on the way to something else. Ichi-go, ichi-e. One time, one meeting. This is it. If this way of thinking speaks to you, follow this channel. There is more Japanese wisdom where this came from.